for 2019, is this report you're giving us that's gonna allow us to be able to, I guess, put a summary together?
Absolutely. We'll be able to pull those work orders from our system. We're inputting all this information into our work order system, and at any given time, if you need a report pulled on a specific asset, we can pull that report for you. All right. On page 3, you have your water accountability report. This is very important. I want to point this out to you because this is your revenue stream for the city. There was a total amount provided to the city of Prairie View of 8,594,000 gallons. I don't have the billed amount, but speaking to Ms. Durham before the meeting, the numbers that she saw that were in the system, and she was working with the programmer, was in the range of 3 million gallons, which I hope not. Because if we had 3 million gallons billed for the month from December 5th through January 5th, that's only 42% accountability. So that's a lot of lost revenue. So we'll be working, like I said, Thursday. I have a training with Ms. Durham, and we'll be on the phone with the software programmers and figure out how we can get this information inputted into this accountability report. So that way we have those numbers and we can identify any areas of concern within the city.
Well, we know we have a lot of infiltration. We already know that, with our old pipes and that sort of thing. We touched on a service to help identify some of the infiltration problems through smoke or something along those lines.
Yes, there's a number of different services that can be provided for determining problem areas as far as I&I is concerned. One of the things that I've done on this operations report, if you look over in the column that says City of Prairie View total sewer meter, that's the actual metered amount of sewer that was processed at the university. You can see that that number is 10,300,000 gallons compared to the water produced for the City of Prairie View, which was in the amount of 8,594,000 gallons. And all that water that's produced isn't going through the sewer. You know, some of it's irrigation. You know, you have other areas where water is being used. So that number right there is very concerning, like how you said, Mayor. That leads to a lot of I&I in the city's infrastructure. So that's something that needs to definitely be addressed and looked at.
Yeah, but back up. Go back to the amount of water from the wells.
Yes, sir.
Was put in the system versus what was needed. That's a big difference.
Yes,
Now, that's the most concerning right there.
absolutely. They're both very concerning.
Well, that's the most one because they should be pretty well kept.
Yes.
But don't you have to account for all the water that is currently sitting in the well?
No.
I mean, you can't,
No, when you look at
the towers hold a lot of water.
yeah, when you look at what you're putting in the system, that should be what's used.
Yes.
Right.
And if you got a big difference there, that's a problem.
So our issue, I
It
think.
has nothing to do with infiltration.
The infiltration is the number from the 8.85,
Right.
8.5 to 10.3.
Yes.
He's
that's correct.
saying that if the numbers that Ms. Durham gave, and it was 3.5 to 8.5,
Yeah.
that's the gap
Yeah,
that
that's
we
the
may
gap.
have the issue at, and that can come from a series of
That can be undefined leaks that are going into the storm that we don't know about.
Where is the water that like is sitting in the tank at the time, give or take, that these numbers, see, these are paper numbers, right, for what was used, what was bought, and you have to account for what we have. We haven't used it yet, but we still have it. How much is in those 3 towers?
So, but you go ahead.
So from an operational standpoint, when the well kicks on, it's running and it's monitoring the water that's being drawn from the water
Right.
from the water well and going into the tank. So that's the number that we use from December 5th to January 5th. That number, that total amount of water that's being drawn from the well is the number that we use and compare that to what's actually being billed to the customer. Because that same amount of water that's being drawn, because that's a demand, that same amount of water that's being drawn is what's being distributed out into the distribution system.
So that doesn't even account for that. So the question is that if we're building at the 3.5, and we should be building at, let's say, 8.5. That's a huge amount to be, what, for about 42%, you said?
Right now, from the numbers that we pulled out of Quickwater, we're at about 42% accountability. Now, if that's a hard number, I do not know. I won't know until Thursday when I get on the phone myself with the programmer. I was unable to make it here in time to talk with the software programmer today, but I have a meeting set up Thursday with Ms. Durham. We're gonna do some training, and we'll figure out if this is the exact number or not.
Does
So
this-
next month, we'll definitely have our
Okay.
firm numbers.
We'll be able to, this'll help us to account for whether it be, is it a billing issue, or if they're saying we use this amount of money, this water, is it higher, it's almost double. So that means the water's going somewhere, so it's use, is it unregulated taps, is it people using water wells, is it, what could,
Right, it can be a number of things. Number one, it can be water, like I said, that we have a main break or multiple leaks that are being unaccounted for. Number two, what we see oftentimes in the industry is that we have meters that are over 1 million,
Right.
and so they're under-registered. They're no longer registering within that 95 percentile. So that's something else that we'll need to take a look at. Something else that we see is that there's a number of meters that are stuck. They're not registering at all. So when the meter reader goes out and reads those meters, he's documenting that same reading and it's just being billed at a base fee. So we have to identify where the issues are, correct the issues, and start getting the city's revenue
Well,
back to where it
one
needs
of
to
the
be.
things that I would encourage and I'll work with you on is there've been a lot of issues with the program itself. In other words, junk in, junk out.
Yeah.
And our lack of understanding the usage of it. So make sure you're communicating what you need with Quickwater and making sure our system is showing what you're looking for. Because it's been an issue since I came in, the public works thing, the records of it, your numbers, differ from some of the reports we have. So, again, I don't know what's working, but we have to start and make sure the system is working right. And then we track what you know we need to look for and things like that. But we need to make sure that program is working because I know me and the guys maybe 2-3 weeks ago, we sat down and they had to do a lot of rereads because the handhelds that the city has with the Quickwater system is not reading everything. And from what I'm hearing you say, we're losing the numbers. So we just need to incorporate the handhelds and talk to the guys in addition to Ms. Durham because they're the ones reading the meters and doing the rereads. And they're telling me, they just popped up that, you know, there may be some issues with the handhelds. So, you know, the whole system we're using is something else that we may need to take a look at. But
Absolutely.
with your understanding of the system, that'll help us in making a decision and looking at that.
Not a problem, that's what I intend to do. Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, I know in Public Works, we made a council voted last meeting as far as to go into a contract with USW for 120 days, and we're supposed to be bringing back an RFP and kind of moving forward. Well, whatever that process was.
I plan
It
on
was-
bringing some information to council at the next council meeting to give you some information on that.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
That's what I needed. And then we also, council, the contract is also in front of you. JJ, my question for you, as far as Public Works, the amount of monthly allotment that we paid out, where are we at? As far as the new, and it probably we won't see it till next month, but can you also give us some information at the next meeting or February's meeting? Because there's a base rate
Yeah,
that we're
right.
supposed to be keep maintaining the same,
Mhm.
and then we're supposed to be paying some of those additional things. But I don't want us to go from paying one amount and then this amount.
You know, we do separate it, and they give us a separation. On your invoice, you have it on 3,060,
Yes, monthly operation and maintenance. On page 1 of the invoice, you'll see that there's a breakout of the monthly base operation fee, which is, this is now ended, but $3,094.50.
That's all I wanted to know moving forward, because right now we pay 15.5. And we know that's some additional things, but I want to make sure from our base that was 3, that we're keeping consistent with, because we have a lift station out here, which is, again, was that to service it, or is that some of the things we're gonna request back from, the TML?
Yes,
So
that
like
full
that's-
amount right there, I've already spoke with Lisa Cooch, and that full amount is what the city will receive back from TML.
And that's what we run into along the way with insurance claims, lightning, Hurricane Harvey, and other things as well, so.
Yes, that's correct.
Now, I got one question on that.
Yes, sir.
Do you all want payment on that portion current, or can we,
The insurance,
yeah,
that
can we
can-
wait
absolutely,
until we get
money's
some?
received.
And
That's how
TML
we've
has
been
been-
working it.
And TML has been pretty responsive, and it's been coming in pretty close to billing cycles.
Yeah, well, I just asked that quick because
Yeah.
we're current with you guys.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to get clarification with you all that invoice, we can hold out until, we get clear. And I'll work with you on that. I'll work with you all on that. But we'll keep you current on your monthly bill.
Yes.
Okay.
And so you're saying the water plant, lift station, those are part of the insurance claim, and our preventive maintenance is just something we just do?
You looking on page 1?
Look on.
Invoice?
Invoice.
Okay.
It's
Yes,
like we,
yeah, so the water plant base fee, that's broken out separate.
the next.
And then below that, you'll see additional services.
Uh-huh.
That would probably total in, let's see, water plant base is $3,094. The total balance was $15,576, so less $3,000. You're looking at your additional services being around $12,000, a little over $12,000. So that's broken out in administration costs, preventive maintenance sewer, which we had some issues at the lift stations in that last severe storm that we had. And then we have preventive maintenance water, and then we have sanitary sewer collection, water distribution, and water plant fees.
Right, so.
Let me just give you an idea. From a budget standpoint, we budgeted them $3,000 a month as far as your base fee.
Base fee.
And it came in at $3,060. We have budgeted $24,000 a month for the other incidental costs, and this time it came in at $15,000,
Yeah,
Yes.
a little like
yeah,
11.
and they basically do all the work that is accumulated under that repairs and maintenance line item.
That's right.
So that was a good month, but there are months sometimes that depend on the activity
That's
that
right.
happens.
And the
But we
reason
do
why the
have-
base fee went up too.
You can track it on your financial, I'm looking at this page 13 now. There's a separate line item under Public Works that will show USW, and then the other line item is where we put the remainder of their bill, repairs and maintenance.
And just to clarify, the additional cost on that base fee of being $3,094, that's because annually in that emergency contract, we had a CPI adjustment. That CPI adjustment was removed in the current contract that we have, so.
Thanks, sir.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Mayor. Since we're still on public work, I got a couple phone calls saying that there were a couple sewage backups in Alta Vista neighborhood. I wonder if you were aware of that, and if so, can we get an update on that?
Sure, there were a couple of sewer backups in Alta Vista, and the back truck had to be called out because the vacuum pump that the cities had was not adequate to suck the stuff out.
So, Mr. Mayor, is there?
Yes. And that's where the lines are currently being replaced as well. But that's a part of why that area was selected, because of the old clay pipes, a lot of dirt and I or breaks in the pipes. That when they went through Alta Vista with the cameras, they ran into several areas where it was dirt, which meant the clay pipes had been broken and that sort of thing. And but that's exactly why they're over there redoing that now. Yes.
I guess, I thought we said we were going to be documenting these things, and we're gonna get like a report, a monthly report. Would that come up under USW, is that come up through our public works, which means you or Mr. Glover, whoever, are we gonna get, we asked for that to be documented?
You mean every time there's a sewage backup in somebody's house, you're going back and document?
We're asking.
No, I'm serious, because that's what happened. There was sewage backup in somebody's house.
I'm not speaking as for a specific issue.
Yeah.
I'm talking about in general. We say if we're gonna be if we have any things that are of major concern, that we're gonna get some documentation so we can continue to connect those to the plans, all the things we keep talking about we're gonna do, that'll help us to be able to say if this is a priority. If you come say that there's an issue on top of what we're currently doing in Alta Vista, we have the documentation from 4 months ago to look at, hey, we had these issues and we need to now make this priority number one, instead of how we've done it in the past. And so I'm simply saying, along with our priority list, it'll help us to be able to move that forward. And so we simply asked them, and I thought you said it was gonna be no problem because we get the information anyway. And so I'm just saying, are we going into 2019?
That's not what the sewage backup that we have throughout the city on a regular basis. Well, that's what that was. So,
But you have what we're saying is you should have a document that says that Alta Vista had, if there's a repair, if there's a call out and a cost that was used, you have a report or some information that says there was 10, what's the name, in Alta Vista. It's kind of like the report of Public Works. If Alta Vista had 10 call outs, if Prairie Gables had 2, that's information you have, and that helps us to be able to prioritize. And so,
Mr. Johnson, do you have the invoices every time a back truck is called out?
Yeah, it's after the fact. I see it after it's paid.
Okay, well, that would be, it's called out because it's a TCQ
well,
emergency, so it's not gonna wait on
Tell me
anybody's
exactly
approval.
where.
But could you, in your reporting in Public Works, does that show, does it show those things?
Well,
Because
if
what
you look at-
council is
yeah,
asking for, when we have an emergency,
yeah,
we
right.
fix it.
Right.
And when we have an emergency, we fix it.
Right,
I'm
we're
not
not-
sure you understand.
we're not trying, that's my point. I'm not asking for approval, so if we can step back a moment.
What is it?
I'm saying, if you're the Director of Public Works, and we say for the month of December, Public Works had 50 call-outs. We have the amount that was spent in your report. We're saying you should have a record, because you have to have it for TCEQ or for whoever, that says we had 5 here, 10 here, or 20 here. This is part of the administrative part. We're asking, this is what Public Works does. This is what the administrative public works, and so I'm simply saying, this is not asking for approval. We're asking to start to keep track. If there's 20, what's names in Alta Vista, 5 in Prairie Hills, and so we can start to move forward our plan to alleviate the issues in our community. But that's
Okay.
very simple.
Okay, yes, sir.
Real quick, Councilman Rowland, Thursday when I come here, that's something that I can look into to see, Quickwater should have a work order system, because I know the guys get dispatched work orders when they go and do things out in the field. So, that data should be kept track in the Quickwater. So there should be a way
And we
to
have the guys' work orders, so between
Right.
the two, we can put that
extract
stuff
that
together.
information and do a summary.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Next item is council reports. Councilman Rowland.
So you looking at my shoes right now?
I just want to say,
before we do that, I have a question
for the chief.
Ignate did as well, a question for Chief.
Oh, Chief, this is actually a really quick question. When it came to your report, dang, I gotta find the report. Oh yeah, so It says for investigation, division, total number of assigned cases to CID for the month of 2. I just wanna ask what CID stands for.
That's the investigation division is what it is.
So that's criminal investigation.
Yes.
That's it.
My question was, have you guys already had the auction for the old, police car? Yeah.
Yes, we have. We had that auction, maybe a month ago. All the cars are gone with the exception of one, waiting to be picked up. We made, about $690-something on that, which went back to the city fund.
For Chief, heard a lot of feedback for the thing you did, bro, with the kids in the community.
Yes,
for during December.
Mhm.
So my hats off into.
It was a great deal. That was a really good deal.
Councilman Wallace was involved in
Yeah,
that.
it's
I didn't
been-
get that picture.
That was great. It was,
Okay.
those kids were really, really happy about that. So, yeah, it was a huge impact.
Good stuff.
And shout out to, PVPD for what they did, actually on Christmas, morning when they went and bought gifts and things for the house that had burned down as well.
Oh, yeah, thank you on that too, for helping Officer Burns out with that. Yeah.
Good stuff.
And shout out to the fire department.
Councilman Rowland.
Thank y'all. It is a happy new year to everybody. Our first meeting of 2019. Again, my condolences to Councilman Williams and her family. Had the opportunity to represent the university on a new form community council. Dr. Ruth Simmons had put together and had a lot of community support that came out on January 9th. Also had an opportunity to represent the city at the swearing in at the Capitol. Met with several state representatives, also specifically Representative Bell, on some of the priorities and things that we want to move forward. Also had the opportunity to represent, there is a PV Housing Committee that's been meeting, and I went to a couple meetings just to see, they've asked me to come and I went. Also participating in both our Boy Scouts, here on the first and third Wednesday. I had the opportunity for 6 days, which is why I couldn't attend the funeral. We were out camping in the rain, in the cold, at Camp Beauvais, and so I was there for 6 days with our young men of the community. Also had the opportunity, upcoming, we'll be participating in the HGAC. They have a meeting coming up this month of January. Also, Cornell West will be here in the city of Prairie View, January 18th. If you need any information, you can go on the city of Prairie. You can go on Prairie View University's website to get information. Their tickets are free, but you do need to do the Eventbrite. And then also have a meeting in Austin on the 23rd with State Representative Bell on some of the things we're talking about, our priorities to help move the city of Prairie View forward. And with that, we have our annual meeting for the Prairie View's Chamber of Commerce on January 31st. And that is it. Thank you for allowing me to serve.
Councilman.
Thank you. I'll be brief as well. I reached out to Councilwoman Williams, but just publicly, I want to send my condolences. Her family and my family have been close all of my life, and so I mean, it's something that definitely hit me hard as well. For those who don't know, on Monday, the city of Hempstead will be hosting its community MLK parade in the subsequent program at Greater St. Peter's Baptist Church. I received a phone call today and I was asked to be the Grand Marshal of the parade as well as the keynote speaker. So yeah, I'll be there doing that on Monday. So if y'all are available, the parade definitely needs it's died down in participation over the years. So definitely that's something that we need to try to rejuvenate. That's about it. I'll see you next week.
What time? Parade?
Starts at 9, and it usually over by like 12 or 1.
And where exactly does it start?
It meets at VF Factory.
That's brother?
VF.
Oh, the VF.
Boy, got
Yeah.
Green.
big open parking lot.
Yeah.
Before you get to Brookshire Brothers. All right.
Need to take that
Okay,
degree
Councilman
back.
Jones?
Good evening. I had the opportunity to graduate from the Prairie University. And I got my major in agriculture economics, as well as I had to, I wanted to be there for Councilman Wendy Williams because I know at very low points in my life, she said wise words and uplifted me in spirit and in prayer. And her mom always stayed on me to make sure I always had the right vision and mission for the city before I got elected and when I got elected. And another thing I loved about my mom is that she was the first one to tell me when I was wrong, but she was the first one also to tell me good job and keep up the good work. So Council Member Wendy Williams is like I always say, hey auntie, every time I sit down in the seat, and it's been a pleasure to sit next to her, as well as it's coming to an end for the last couple months. Me and Councilman Exante Wallace have been driving around the city to see exactly what constituents' complaints are about our roads, streets, as well as lighting and just different safety hazards. So in the next upcoming weeks or so, you'll see a proposal with the help of JJ and our great city attorney, as well as I'm privileged to that we have a great city attorney on board and always quick to respond and helping us. As well as again, it was nice that I could get out on Christmas Day. Me being a little bit older and getting a little bit wiser, you don't see Christmas presents underneath the tree anymore. But it kind of like allowed me to switch the spectrum of how I looked at Christmas by seeing the smiles and seeing how that family responded to that great deed that I was able to be helpful with and impact that family lives. As always, it's an honor and privilege to serve the city of Prairie.
Councilwoman?
Hello. First of all, I want to thank everybody for all your text messages, emails, phone calls. I want to thank Councilman Kendrick Jones, who spent a lot of time with us at the hospital during that time, as well as Mayor Allen, who spent time with us at the hospital, as well as participating in her homegoing services. So from my family to you, we thank you, we appreciate you. We thank you for your continued prayers as well. And my mom loves the city of Prairie View. Her family loves the city of Prairie View, and so we will continue, myself and my son, to try to live up to her expectations and do what she would have us to do to help the city of Prairie View to move forward. So thank you again, and we ask that you continue to pray for us, and we will continue to pray for you.
Councilman Wallace?
Once again, as all the other council members, I do want to once again express the sentiments and condolences for Ms. Williams. I've actually read a whole book on the history of the city of Prairie View, and just reading the impact of 14 families really put everything into perspective for me. So I just want to send that once again. I have my Protect the Village initiative still going. We're going to be making a decision on that later on in this meeting. But for those that may not know about Protect the Village, real quick, it's a 3-week initiative in February, from February 10th through the 28th, in which it is made to bring the city together through social bonding, community service, and historical preservation. So the team has been working hard. We settled on 7 different events. The first week being community service, where on the 10th we'll be going out to different churches in the community and do a community service there. On the 14th we'll be going to Jones Elementary to show the kids a little love. And on the 16th will be the Prairie View Day of Service, where we go out into multiple parts of the city. As I'm over one of the co-founders for the Abundance of Hands Community Service Ministry, and just continue to help build the community in any way possible. February 18th, we're gonna have an old school versus new school bowling tournament. So that'll be free. So if anybody, wants to come bowl and have a little fun, we're gonna have 50 spots reserved, 25 for new school, 25 for old school, and have little separate games, Jenga, cards, just so that we can just fellowship together. On the 22nd, we're gonna have a poetry showcase called a Word of Mouth, where we have some of the best poets in the city come out and just have a great time and just continue to expand the mind with poetry. The 24th, we're planning to have a cookout, so food, family, and fellowship always brings everybody out, just to have a good time together. And lastly, we want to end with an award ceremony where there's a lot of people in the city that have been doing great things for the city, and they need to be recognized. So I think it would be a great time just to close out the initiative by recognizing those that help the community in different ways. So I'm planning to have a university meeting on the 17th, just for the university, and have a separate one next week with for anybody in the community that wants to get to know. I have a marketing ground team that's going to go knock on doors. The Abundance of Hands Community Service, we've already knocked on about 80% of the doors within the city for community service. So we're just going to continue to do the same thing to let them know about this initiative. And so if anybody wants to be a part, volunteer, donate, or just want to be there, we have an email, Protect the Village, PROTECT, Village, VILLAGE, 2019 @gmail.com. And so I'm going to ask Mr. Mayor, for the community meeting, not this week, but for next week, are we able to use robocall to let people know what's going on? Because I want to do a presentation so everybody knows exactly what's going on.
Sure.
All right, thank you so much for that. And so, once again, I want this to be a great initiative and just something every year that the city can look forward to in terms of coming together. Also, for the council edification, I've been talking to Jimmy Henry of the Co-op Extension Program and the County Judge Duhan. So, right now, Waller County doesn't have an extension agent specifically for Prairie View, and Jimmy Henry said he would be, on for the idea. They can get grants, they can help with a lot of things in the city. He just wanted resolution from us and the county judge and the commissioner's court to approve. So I'll be planning to present a resolution next meeting, and also Judge Duhan said he'll put it on commissioner's court after we approve to put it for his court to approve if we approve of it in the first place. And last, I'm working on having a community engagement board. I really enjoy the community university council that happened earlier, and just to see how all the citizens could put an input, really show that they can impact the community, that their voices can be heard. So I'm working on the logistics so that we can have different ways for the community to engage with us and give different inputs on the things that city council and city leadership does. But once again, it's an honor to serve, and thank you once again for the opportunity.
The